Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. Game night tonight, but tomorrow is the Final Four. Of course, you can hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Julian Edlow from DraftKings joins me right now here on 97.3 ESPN to get more into the Final Four and the matchups tomorrow. Julian, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you, Josh?
I'm doing pretty good, and I'm excited because it's not every Final Four that you get 7 of the past 14 national champions all in one building like this. But I know everyone's focused on Coach K, but you could point to every one of these teams and make a very good argument for why each one of them is going to win.
Yeah, it's that's the way most of these tournaments have been going lately. You have your fun with whoever the Cinderella is. St. Peter's, Elite Eight last year, Oral Roberts, Sweet 16. And then it comes down to it, and it's a handful of the best teams in the country. And even when you get, UNC's an 8 seed, so they shouldn't be here, but we know what their talent level is, and we know if they were ranking teams today, UNC is a top 15 team at least if they were ranking today. Last year's Cinderella was UCLA, who was a top 10 team all year, who didn't belong seeding wise. So we have lower seeds here. They just wind up being teams like a UCLA and a UNC that have cut down the nets plenty of times before in their own right. So all of these teams are fully capable of winning it at this point. I will say Villanova, though, that injury, everybody that's here is here because they're playing their best basketball. And Villanova has been playing their best basketball, but we haven't seen them without Justin Moore because that injury literally happened at the end of the Houston game when it was essentially locked up. And I think that's the biggest storyline of the weekend.
Let's dig deeper into the Villanova, Kansas, because you mentioned the injury to Villanova. Now, obviously, Jay Wright's been here, done that. That's obviously part of what makes Villanova appealing to people. But do you believe Villanova has the reinforcements to fill in for the injury, or is this just maybe a bad matchup with Kansas?
I don't think Villanova has the reinforcements, to answer the question in short. If they had the guys, Jay Wright wouldn't be playing 6 guys all season, right? Right. You would use some of these other guys throughout the Big East, which they didn't even win the Big East regular title. They did get the conference championship, but you would sprinkle some of these other guys in. It wouldn't just be 2 to 3 minutes of Arcidiacono and 6 guys every game. So let me play devil's advocate and say, here's what Nova does have going in its direction. You have Jay Wright, a great coach. And if this happened on a Friday night Sweet 16 game and they had to play again on Sunday, I would say they're absolutely done. They get the week off to prep. So the week of prep is huge. Kansas is going to have no tape of Villanova without Moore because Moore plays 35 minutes every single game for Villanova. That's just how they do it. Now that's reaching to make it a positive for Nova for sure. But those are just the only ways I can think of it as a positive. Now, when it comes down, Kansas is the team that I'm most confident in this weekend. They're a deep team. They're a fast team. They're playing well. They're regular season Big 12 champs. They're conference tournament Big 12 champs. I just think that, and the total at this game is 133, I think, last I looked. This is not the Houston game where Villanova can win 50-44. Kansas plays with pace to begin with, and they rotate guys in. They're going to try to push the pace, which would be smart to do against Villanova. So I just think by the end of the game, some of those guys are going to be tired. When the reserves come in, whoever it may be, you're really going to lose a lot there. And eventually, Villanova can hang in there, and I wouldn't say go bet Kansas first half. It's going to be a blowout from the start. But eventually, I just think Kansas is going to get there and wear them down and win this by a couple possessions.
I've contended that we haven't seen the best of Kansas yet in this tournament. Do you believe?
Well, they might have. I would say that until halftime of the Miami game.
Gotcha.
What was that? 47-15 second half.
Right.
So on top of it, Kansas is coming in with full momentum to this game off probably the most impressive half anyone's played in the tournament.
Well, let me ask you this to play devil's advocate. Do you believe Kansas can carry that momentum after not having played now for a week?
Yeah. Yes and no. I don't think because they finished the game like that, they're gonna, open up the game on a 10-2 run or something and pick up exactly the same. But I think they hadn't played nearly that well the entire time. They lost the first half to Miami. They battled with Creighton and Providence, wire to wire kind of. I think that showing themselves that we do still have that level right now kind of just gives them a little more confidence coming into this game, rather than if they hadn't turned it all the way on yet at any point in the tournament.
DraftKings Julian Edlow joining us right now here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow him on Twitter at Julian Edlow. Of course, the Final Four tomorrow. Coverage begins at 4:30 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. We'll get to the second game now. I know it's the game that everybody and their cousin has talked about. I don't know if anybody knows this, but it might be Coach K's final game tomorrow night. But the interesting part is this feels like a storybook, Julian. It's North Carolina beat them in the final home game at Duke, and now you get to face them again. I feel like this is like a Disney movie or something where like the coach finally gets to go out on his terms or some crazy thing like that. So taking away the fairy tale storyline, what is the biggest factor in this game for you?
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty unbelievable that for the first time UNC Duke meeting in the tournament is going to happen to be in the Final Four in Coach K's last season. I don't know if it's better or worse that they didn't wind up meeting in the ACC championship. Like if they did, then it could have been round 4. But with them not, Banchero saying, we want UNC and they don't get them. And then now they get them in the Final Four. I kind of think it's cooler this way. With the last matchup still being UNC spoiling Coach K's last home game as 11-point dogs. The biggest piece of this matchup, I think, that's the question, right? Sorry, I started rambling.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay. My biggest takeaway of this matchup, I think, is that the public perception is still that Duke has to roll in this game to get revenge for what happened in Coach K's last home game. And what I would say is that, and to that degree, if this is a 2-point game down the stretch, I don't want to be the ref that doesn't blow the whistle to cost Duke the game or something like that. There are some ways that you can say, Duke is going to have an edge here with the refs. I don't think that's wrong to say, but I don't think at all. I think people are completely overlooking the fact that Carolina wants to play spoiler twice. They want to end Coach K once at Duke and then end him again for good in the Final Four. And it's a veteran UNC group. They're very well in tune with this matchup and this rivalry and what it means. They want to be the bad guy 2 times. So I wouldn't put anything. I just think the public perception of Duke has to win this game. They've got to be the right side. I'm not all the way there on that.
I'm with you there because to me, I just think that when you look at Duke's best player and you look at North Carolina, how they match up with Banchero, they got Baycott, they got Manic. To me, this comes down to the perimeter. And the thing I'm conflicted on is how does Duke handle guys like Black and Love and Davis on the perimeter? We know they got the guys, the bang, right? They know we got we know what they have on one dimension, but does Duke have it all on the other dimension?
Duke's got a lot, right? And I'm a huge Mark Williams fan. I think he's undervalued in the draft. He's got a lot of, I don't know, Tyson Chandler, Clint Capella in him with maybe a higher ceiling. Duke's got the guys. It's just a question of if the youth and the NBA lottery talent is going to prevail and come through with the pressure of winning it for Coach K, or if the more veteran UNC group is going to rally around playing the bad guy twice in a row. And I really think it could go either way, which is why I'm tempted to take the points with UNC. And I really do think, at this stage, I think a lot of people are going to want to play that plus 160-ish money line. I really do think playing +4, and it might move to 4.5 with public Duke money on Saturday. I really think that's the way to go because, like I said, if Coach K gets a whistle at the end, like, you don't want to be on the wrong side of that when you could have had the points over the money line. I like personally, I'll kind of be rooting for UNC to win. That's just where I'm siding, bets aside. But yeah, I just think the points with you, if you told me to pick anything money line or side, I would go points UNC. Although I personally haven't gotten around there yet. I've played some totals and some point props and stuff if we want to get into those, but the side is tough in this game.
I'm glad you mentioned the totals because that's the thing that stands out to me the most out of everything over on the DraftKings Sportsbook and on the app. Whether you're on the app or on the site, no matter what platform you're looking at it, there's one thing that pops. Villanova, Kansas is 133, and North Carolina, Duke is 151. And, no matter who you are, you look at it, is that right? Like, is there really that much of a scoring difference in these two games?
So let's start with Villanova, Kansas, I guess, because like the under in the Houston game, I played the first half under. I didn't play the game under. That was 50-44. That was both teams wanted to do the same thing, and Villanova did it better. This game, I'm not going to bet the total, but if I did, it would be an over because I think Villanova is going to try and slow this down for sure, especially without Moore. If you want to, keep those guys in for the duration of the game, now you really got to slow it down even more than usual. But Kansas would be smart. Like Kansas has to be smart to speed this up, right? They've got the deeper bench. We saw what they did in the second half to Miami, just kind of running them out of the gym. While Nova's going to try and slow it down, I think Kansas would be smart to at least try and really speed it up. So I lean over there. In the Duke UNC game, I've played the over 151. I think it's low, and I've talked to some people that make their own numbers, have their own models. They have it at like 158. So it's like, how high can you put it until everybody's betting the under, I think is the thing. And the sharp side here is the over. When these two teams met the last time around, it landed on 175. When they met earlier in the season, it landed on 154, and UNC only scored 67 points and lost by 20. These are, teams with NBA players that play with pace. It's going to be up and down. I really think it's going over. And to kind of tie into that, if, I wrote up in my best bets article on DraftKings Playbook, Brady Manick over 2.5 threes. Obviously, everybody's kind of familiar with him now in the tournament and how well he's playing. He's shooting 16 of 34 from downtown in the tournament. He's made at least 3 of them in every game. Now, is that going to carry over against Duke? I say yes, because here's the 2 matchups against Duke this year. The last one at Duke, 5 of 10 from downtown in that win. In the 20-point loss at home, 6 of 10 from downtown for Brady Manick from 3. So forget the makes. I mean, shooting 5 of 10 and 6 of 10 is fantastic. Let's say he doesn't do that. The bottom line is he shot 10 in both games against Duke. So if you're telling me he's going to get 10 up, I like over 2.5 for Brady Manick there, which ties in with the up and down game we should see and the game total over.
Now, over on DraftKings Sportsbook, it's a very interesting set of odds because if you want to pick who's going to win the champion now, there's plus money for all 4 teams. Now, not everybody wants to actually do this. What I did was I just threw a bet on all 4, just because. But maybe you don't want to do that, right? Maybe you look at all 4 of those teams and you feel better about one than the other. If someone wants to put a future bet right now on either Duke, Kansas, Nova, or North Carolina, who would you feel the most comfortable saying ride with that future?
My money would be on Kansas because I'm the most confident that they'll be there. And that's all you can really do at this stage. Now, if they do play Duke, I'd probably lean Duke in that matchup. But now you have Kansas at good plus money, and you see the look-ahead line is essentially a pick-em between Duke and Kansas. Now you can hedge out with some Duke if you want and either guarantee some profit or get yourself a free roll on one side of the game. So I think, and it's the same as my just betting on Kansas to advance if you wind up hedging, but like my thought process is the same. What am I most confident in? I don't know necessarily how to cap the national title game before we get there at this stage. So I would say just take the team you're most confident is going to win on Saturday and go from there, and that's Kansas for me.
Julian Edlow, DraftKings. Follow him on Twitter at Julian Edlow. Of course, he's been covering the tournament all season long, and of course, we'll check in with him as well in the future about the NBA. But today, we're focusing on the Final Four tomorrow night. 4:30 p.m. coverage begins on 97.3 ESPN. First game is Nova versus Kansas, followed by the showdown one more time, Duke versus North Carolina. Julian, appreciate you jumping on today.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me, Josh. Good luck with your bets, everyone.